Update. My mother-in-law decided to gossip with my daughter about my marriage, blowing a giant hole in my life. Original post. My wife cheated on me nearly 10 years ago. I won't get into the specifics, as they're unimportant, but due to the fact that I saw blame on both of our parts, I forgave her and we moved past it. My daughter is 16 years old, and she only just found out from my mother-in-law, who seems to have decided she was old enough to hear the family gossip and that she would be mature enough not to confront her. Initially, my wife thought I had told her and came into my office where I had been to ask me what the heck I was thinking and if I was trying to destroy their relationship. She and my daughter have been strained for a couple of years now, lots of arguing on both sides. She refused to believe that I hadn't said anything at first, until my daughter entered the room and joined in on the screaming, saying I was too weak and that her own mother had sold her out. The fighting went on a long time, and honestly, I may as well have not been there for all the good I did. I tried to step between them when I was concerned, but that only ended with some ringing in my ear, haha. Eventually, my wife left to cool off, and my daughter and I could talk. She wasn't happy with me either and didn't hesitate to tell me so, but she wasn't screaming or throwing stuff anymore, so I just let her get it out. She asked me why I stayed, and I was honest that I was no perfect husband, and I decided not to end my marriage, break up our home, and destroy her childhood for something that I held blame in as well. The entire time I was speaking, she just kept watching me with this sad face that made me uncomfortable. But when I finished, she just shook her head and said that I needed to leave my wife and that the cheating wasn't the only issue. She started bringing up every insignificant flaw my wife has. She brought up my wife getting angry at me because I had put too much creamer in her coffee, for example. Just trivial crap. I told her as much, but she just kept shaking her head. It ended up turning into an argument where she insisted I was some sort of victim and started making some kind of getaway plan. I kept trying to talk her down, but that was going nowhere. I first tried calling my wife, but found my call went straight to voicemail, so I called my mother-in-law to inform her of the situation. But my wife had already made it there and planned to stay overnight to calm down, because she didn't want to see either of our faces. It's been a few days now and I still haven't seen her or heard from her, but her mother informs me she's okay, just very emotional. So I'm also scared for my wife. She has had mental health struggles before, and if she's going through that again, I should be there to help. She almost died the last time she had an episode, and I don't think even my daughter, as angry as she is right now, wants her mom gone. My daughter told me she hopes her mother never comes back. I'm just feeling defeated and tired. I've done everything I can to keep this family floating, and somehow I'm still failing. It's beginning to feel like I always do, at everything, and always will fail at everything, as long as I live. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, few thoughts here. 1. Mother-in-law is completely in the wrong. It's no one's business to fill daughter in on family gossip that includes her parents. 2. I'm sure some of this is normal teenage rebellion crap. However, your wife got angry about too much creamer in the coffee? You say trivial stuff, but how often does wife get overly sensitive about trivial crap? There is a point where it becomes you managing wife's emotional outbursts instead of wife working on her own issues. Does daughter have a point at all? Yeah, because that's an odd thing to get genuinely angry over. And it makes me wonder why mom and daughter were butting heads to start with. Maybe mom is not just abusive to dad. I 120% agree with the mother-in-law part. I'm slightly in shock that my wife is mad at me and our daughter, but somehow not too angry to stay in the house of the person who told her. I don't know. That part has been messing me up a lot, I think. My daughter has definitely been going through some teenage rebellion stuff, which I haven't minded because it's introduced me to a lot of new music when she's mad, but my wife has had some issue with it because she's scared that when our daughter gets older, she'll regret all the crazy hair or odd clothes. I've been trying to help her with that because I was a little teenage dirtbag myself, and my daughter is a good kid. No real trouble out of her other than being a smartass sometimes, which she comes by honestly. To the rest, I don't know. My wife is temperamental, but she's not violent. I mean, she just gets mad easily. She gets over it pretty fast though. Like she yelled about the coffee thing, dumped it out, got a new cup, and it never came up again. I honestly forgot about it until my daughter brought it up. It really wasn't a big deal. Okay, just because someone isn't violent doesn't mean they aren't making an emotionally hostile environment for everyone else. And you may need to examine that, or I anticipate your daughter will want to leave the house as soon as she's able to. My dad remarried a woman with a similar temperament. She was quick to anger, but quick to move on. It honestly felt like an emotional roller coaster sometimes. Dad loved her, so he looked past this flaw as her partner, chalking it up to just the way she is, but she's a good person. And yeah, that was true. She wasn't a bad person. But he failed to realize her emotional outbursts made us kids feel like the vibe around the house was tense, since small trivial things could make her snap, even for just a minute. It just wasn't pleasant to be around at all. They were always so close growing up, though. I mean, I felt like the bonus parent at times because they were so close when she was little. Like, I remember being a bit jealous about it because I would laugh and think to myself that I thought dads and daughters were supposed to have this special relationship. Haha. They only really started fighting when my daughter was 14. I guess I still feel guilty because their first fight was 100% my fault, and I still blame myself for it. So I'm also scared for my wife. She has had mental health struggles before, and if she's going through that again, I should be there to help. At first glance, your daughter sounds like a spoiled busybody, but upon closer review, it seems you are a doormat who she is frustrated about. How in your mind did your wife end up the victim? I didn't say she was a victim. Trust me, I'm angry as heck that she left, and I'm beyond furious that it's been days with no word. I don't like her outright abandoning her daughter during an emotionally turbulent time because she's upset. We will be discussing that when she gets back. As I stated in another comment, I am going to be having a longer discussion with my daughter about her, specifically her, problems with her mother. Not what problems she has with my marriage, but her relationship with her mother. And depending on how that conversation goes, I may separate from my wife. However, I know that my wife does also have a mental health condition. No matter how angry I am, I don't want her to end up hurt because of where her mind is. Now for the update a year later. It's been a while. I'll probably regret posting this as much as I did the first time, though for different reasons. Before I begin, I want to thank all the kind people who reached out with genuine advice and with whom I had lovely conversations. I appreciate you more than I can say. Checking my history, I saw that I never updated after the conversation with my daughter about her situation with my wife. We talked, and it went worse than I expected, but better than most of the comments. She never hit my daughter or threatened her. My daughter did bring up the yelling and I listened. She said she was never afraid of her mother, but she started to hate her when she noticed how she treated me, hence the change in appearance and the rebelling. She liked that I stood up for her when it came to her new style, because then I was standing up for something. That makes me laugh a bit now, but at the time, I was confused. We talked a long time, and she said she thought maybe she could get over the resentment she had for her mother if she didn't have to see the way she treats me. I didn't much like that at the time, and I admit I argued that I was an adult, and she didn't have to fight my fights for me. My daughter said something like, "If I don't, who will?" And it just kind of stopped me in my tracks, because my only answer, "Sometimes you have to pick your battles," sounds weak when you pick none of them. I still intended to try to work on my marriage, despite the comments. I really hope to turn things around because of their previous relationship, and frankly, how much I still loved my then wife. But then she didn't come home for weeks. I don't know if it was my daughter's needling, or the fact that I could tell she was upset at being abandoned by her mother at the first sign of trouble, but one day I eventually reached out and asked my ex-mother-in-law when my wife was going to come home and act like an adult. I was told she was looking into divorce attorneys and that if I wanted her back, I should really work on getting my daughter to apologize. It all felt so manipulative, and I just got so angry. I hung up and spoke to my own lawyer. After being served, she tried to come back and cried that it was her mental health, but I was still so angry I just shut her down and told her to leave. The divorce was finalized a while ago. My daughter stays with me most of the time since her mother moved out of state afterward, and she wants to go to college in the area when the time comes. She visits mother-in-law and speaks to her mother on the phone sometimes. As much as I hate to admit it, their relationship is improving since the divorce. I don't hate my ex-wife, even if many, including my daughter, categorize her as abusive. She's the first woman I ever really clicked with in that way, and though I don't love her anymore, probably the last. I don't mind it so much. I have a full life without her around, and a quieter one as well. But anyway, thank you all again for listening, and I am bracing for the I told you so's. I don't blame you, you did. She thought your daughter should apologize? You will be so much better off without her. I'm fairly certain she wanted my teenage daughter to pretend she didn't even know, which is ridiculous. And regardless of my feelings on the incident, that wasn't going to happen, and I wouldn't want it to. Your daughter saved all 3 of your lives. Your wife was abusive, your daughter was being abused, and so were you. I'm glad she was adult enough to finally put an end to this madness. I really hope your ex-wife gets serious mental help and your daughter doesn't have lasting effects from it. From what I know, my ex is finding herself. Good for her. I never even knew she was lost. My daughter is a strong young woman, stronger than I ever was or ever will be. I am prouder of her than I can possibly explain, even without this situation. She's the best part of my life, and to quote the old sayings, when I count my blessings, I count her twice. My girls were the same when I left their cheating father. It wasn't pretty. He has serious mental health issues also. It's been 13 years and he is still lost. And I count them twice too. They are the best thing I ever did in my life. It does seem obvious that you're being a doormat if your own child viewed herself as needing to be your savior from her mother. Then learning the betrayal made how she felt 10 times more valid. I believe your ex-mother-in-law wanted this outcome and felt similar to your daughter. Hopefully you're doing better for yourself and listening to your daughter more instead of being defensive. Good luck with everything. My ex-mother-in-law may have, but with the crap storm she was constantly starting during the divorce, I doubt it. I think she just wanted to gossip and start drama. Predictable for her. From what I hear from my daughter, I don't ask, but she tells anyway. Mother-in-law is broken up about my ex leaving the state. Well, that's crappy to learn. That was not her place to interject. So if what you say is true, then I'd be very careful with ex-mother-in-law going forward with information. How is her relationship with your daughter? Growing more distant as time goes on, but they are still in contact. My mother-in-law hates me now, so I think that causes some tension, unfortunately. I don't even talk to the woman anymore, but somehow I am still an issue for them. It's a shame. I wish she would just grow up. Next story. My wife cried because she was cruel to me and still haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Original post. Hello. I've never posted here. I'm sorry. I really don't know exactly how to start telling this story, especially because I know it makes me look like a total prick. My wife and I have been together for around 4 years, married after 6 months of dating, and it's been mostly a dream since then, except for this one thing. She just likes to laugh and goof around, and a lot of her joking tends to have the opposite effect than intended. I'm normally not going to get upset about that kind of thing. It's not an everyday thing, but maybe weekly? Okay, ton of context out of the way. Last night, my wife and I both had a hard day at work. I think. We didn't get to talk about it because the minute we got home there was more work. You know how it is. Dogs made a hell of a mess. Yeah, so we were pretty stressed and out of it. And all I wanted to do was watch the movie she picked out and go to bed. But then she decided it would be funny to drop a couple of jokes about my appearance. Specifically, about one aspect of that appearance I have issues with. That day, I was just so tired and already upset, and I just looked at her and said, "Ow." She laughed again, but I didn't drop it. I insisted on an answer as to why she would say that about me. She asked what I meant, and I asked what kind of response she expected when she made fun of me for my appearance. Particularly a part she knew I felt bad about. I almost did the children's empathy talk. Where you go, and how would you feel if someone did that to you? But I knew that would be condescending and wrong, so I didn't. Anyway, I wouldn't have gotten much out, because this is when the crying started. I didn't get to see it stop for long all night. Just big, heaving sobs and shaking. telling me that she thinks she's going to have a panic attack all night long because I scared her by being so serious. I am not an angry person. I've never been violent. I never moved from my seat when I brought up the mocking thing. She had no reason to think that, and I could think of only one reason for her to cry like that. And this is where I'm going to sound like a prick, and why I'm doing this anonymously. She saw that I was calling her out for making fun of me for no reason, and wanted to change the vibe and feeling in the room as quickly as possible, to instead focus on her having an episode. This isn't the first time this has happened, but it's the first time I've noticed a pattern. Step 1. She upsets someone. Step 2. She will have a panic attack if you don't comfort her right now actually. Step 3. I shove aside any and all feelings I have on the matter, no matter what it's about, apparently including mocking me. But if I don't, she'll have a genuine medical episode, and we could wind up in the hospital. If the person offended is not me, they may also be brought in for emotional support, but I will be. Do I really think that's what it is? I want to say no so bad, but a part of me does. Don't get me wrong, 99.999% of me isn't a prick. But that very small part, it's something I cannot stop thinking about. And I don't know if I want to bury myself alive or go to marriage counseling. Because one of us has a problem. Because if she's doing that, what? But because she isn't, instead I have the problem, and currently feel like I'm going through some kind of psycho-werewolf transformation type thing. Totally normal and cool with my wife, right up until the full moon is out, and then I turn into a rabid animal and accuse her of faking her mental health diagnosis, apparently. Like the monster you are. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I went straight to, she's trying to manipulate the situation. Same. I hate to say it, but I feel the panic attacks are her way of gaslighting OP and making herself the victim. Reminds me of a girl I used to call a friend. She could always dish it out, no breaks. The moment she's called out on it, she's a victim. If you feel this works for you, that's your business. But I don't talk to that girl anymore. There is nothing worse than to find out how alone you are in a room with another person you thought you could speak to and be understood by. And psyching yourself out of judging, quite fairly and justifiably, someone who refuses to acknowledge the most basic feelings you have is a bad move for yourself. She hurt you, you tried to address it. She didn't want to stick around for anything further, so she checked out. That's the facts. Crying works on empathetic people because it signals that things have gone too far, that some harm has taken place, and that you should stop whatever you're doing. But what you're doing is defending yourself in a civilized way. You're the hurt one, and the only one who should have stopped, and needs to stop, is her. That's nothing you should be second-guessing. Now for the update 8 months later. So, I didn't think I would update, because after we talked about my thoughts on the issue, it was an even bigger panic attack and sobbing, and asking if I thought she was evil and all this other stuff that made me feel like the devil incarnate forever, even beginning to doubt her. We went back to the usual, and I had to deal with more of it. I didn't mention it in the last post, but this issue she had didn't just apply to me, it was for everyone and everything that could upset her. And no matter what therapy or meds she was prescribed, it did nothing at all. It wore me down so bad I was sleeping badly, and just about lost my job because I couldn't focus. Because what if she had a panic attack at work? What if I wasn't there and she needed me? We had been genuinely talking about her quitting her job, at least until we found something that worked to combat the stress and anxiety she seemed to be feeling all the damn time. All of which made me feel all the more pathetic after I found out she was cheating on me. The guy worked with her and reached out to tell me because he didn't know she was married. I knew I couldn't confront her in person because her reaction would likely make me think the guy made it all up somehow, despite having texts he showed me from and to her number, and photos I'd rather not discuss. I just moved out and took my dog. Calm down. She never even liked him that much. Hasn't asked about him once. Anyway, I texted her that I knew and was going to talk to a lawyer and asked that she did the same. A lot of crying voicemails and saying she didn't know what I was talking about, followed by trickle-truthing and text messages while I was on my friend's couch. We're still in the middle of everything, but it's pretty cut and dry. Hardly any marital assets worth speaking of, and the lease is in her name. I honestly am surprised by how little heartbreak I actually felt, coupled with a weird sense of relief. I definitely thought getting cheated on would be the worst thing anyone could do to their partner, but if it wasn't a dick move, I would thank her. Anyway, thank you all so much for the advice, even if I was too stupid or weak of spine to take it at the time. It was helpful for just a little bit to not feel crazy.